Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen, and I can't even tell you how much news is coming out of Italy right now. There's always something in Italy. We've been covering it for many years now, but as this Zero Hedge article says anyway, U.S. stocks plunge as Europe closes. Italian bonds crash most in 4 years. And as the article kind of goes into, no headlines, no catalyst, just a close of the European trading session and U.S. equities tumble. Did the Fed drop the buying baton from the ECB? It seems the ECB was overwhelmed in its own markets. Italian 2-year yields exploded higher, biggest single-day spike in 2-year yield since October 2014, and Italian 10-year yields are at their highest since November 2014. So bad that they are only 70 basis points tighter than U.S. bonds. Idiosyncratic risk is blowing out. Italy's short-term risk premium to Germany is now at 90 basis points, almost 4 times its recent norms. And this is just kind of brushing the surface a bit. John, can you go into this?
Well, you got to remember, Italy has been, bankrupt ever since 2008, of course. And we looked into a couple of big banks, especially Monte Dei Paschi, older bailouts that they had. They've been constantly, bailed out by the ECB, of course, under stabilization fund, they call it, debt stabilization fund. It's pretty hilarious. You're trying to constantly try to save this economy that should have been bankrupt forever, like Greece, for example. Now they're saying that, oh yeah, Greece have exited out of their problems and now everything is fine in Greece, and then just wait and see. Suddenly you'll be like, oh yeah, now we suddenly have a debt crisis again. It's like, no, it's been there all the time. It's just you guys are saying that, oh, it's over just because we papered over it with a whole bunch of money that we just printed out of thin air. It's bullshit. And if you look at the current drops in the bank stocks, like I was looking at the Italian stock exchange drop 1.54% today. Well, bank stocks are dropping quite more significantly. Over the last week, Monte Dei Paschi has dropped 13.3%. UniCredit has dropped 7.8%, and Intesa Sanpaolo dropped 10.8%. So these banks are, of course, in trouble again. Who would think that they were actually be in good shape, these Italian banks? I don't know, who are these economists out there that, think that, yeah, everything's so good in Italy because, ever since the banksters took foothold in Venice, back in the 1500s, that's when the whole problem started. And you just seen the back end of it, especially with Monte Paschi, who's been failing 3-4 times.
Well, we've talked about Monte Dei Paschi, which of course is one of the world's oldest banks. I think it's the oldest one still in existence. And, just talking about their potential bail-in, I think it ended up being a bailout, but they attempted to bail in. Another example of, if your money's in the bank, it's not yours, it's the bank's, folks. And, they can just seize your money at any time. They've got that written into the budget in some places, including Canada now. But there's this other article from Zero Hedge that says Italian bonds, banks bloodbath as mini BOT massacre continues. And of course, they're talking about the treasury bills. So it would appear that investors in Italian assets have more to fear than fear itself. As a mention of mini BOTs and the implicit parallel currency nature of these short-dated IOUs has spooked Italian banks, Italian bonds, and Italian credit risk dramatically, and I quote, "The market will remain on somewhat of a knife edge as regards the intended plans and as the coalition government itself evolves," Rabobank International strategist led by Richard Maguire wrote in a note. "The fiscal credibility of the plan is far from guaranteed." And of course, it shows in this article as well, the 2-year yields spiking, 10-year yields are spiking. Italian bond risk is spiking, and it goes into what is seen as a de facto parallel currency would be a major negative development for the euro should any new Italian government seek to pursue it, wrote Viraj Patel, a foreign exchange strategist at ING Group NV in London, in a note to clients. A further widening in spreads would place downward pressure on euro dollar. So, John, how is this all going to end? Because, we've been watching this for a while. They manipulate it more, they prop things up more, it lasts a bit longer, then the crisis gets even worse when it all comes down, and we just end up in this perpetual circle forever. I feel like we've been talking about Italy forever. What do you think?
Well, I think the Italian banks are the same as the mafia in Italy. It's a mafia. That's what the Italian banks are. And if somebody believes different, go and take a look at all over the world. They're so nice, coming and then knocking on your door. It's like, yeah, can you please pay me or else I'm going to take everything you own.
Sounds like the other organized crime racket we call government.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's three of the same, right? They're all the same. The banks, the
Collusion.
it's collusion. It's just how they run. Now, of course, also the credit default swap on Italy's 2-year bonds has spiked tremendously just in May as well. So it just shows that the crises are back. They ran out of money again, and that there's not a way out other than going bankrupt. Maybe I got an idea actually. I think they should just get rid of the 5-star movement in Italy and just instate Berlusconi again. A great guy. He's trying to run again and get.
Well, he's good for comedy anyway, but
I think. Sorry to interrupt you, Josh. I came up with something great. Berlusconi should get elected in Italy, and then he get a Twitter account, and him and Trump could tweet together.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. But we keep seeing this over and over again, and it's interesting to point out in regards to Italy that they're no different than the rest of the world when it comes to the fact that the insolvency of the banks continue. It never ended in 2008. You've done reporting into that, looking at their balance sheets, etc., looking at how much cash to deposit ratio they have, and it's frightening. And that goes for any bank in the world, basically. I mean, we looked at banks from every single country in the world, and I don't have the numbers with me at this moment while we're doing this report. We usually wing these things pretty fast. But, I have no doubt that Italy's included in the fact that most of these banks have anywhere from 89% to 99.8 or 99.9% not covered. I mean, it's absolutely insane in cash. So, I think
actually Italian banks are better than a lot of the other banks. That's what should be really scary.
And it's still terrible. Yeah. And, I mean, that's a major problem is as we see this shift happen worldwide. There's some kind of monetary revolution happening. We all see it. When it comes to the markets, when it comes to the economy, there is some kind of shift happening. And I think eventually, when it all comes crashing down, better sooner than later, that people are going to learn that they've been scammed this whole time by government and banks colluding with each other, with central banks, the fractional reserve lending, the insanity of quantitative easing.
The biggest scam in humankind history, of course.
Absolutely. And, when people work hard every single day and they come home and, they're trying to feed their families and stuff, the last thing they need is, another crisis caused by these idiots that they've put, all their responsibility in the hands of, which is why it always comes down to self-sustainability and individual responsibility. So you're not, depending on these guys that depend on your dependents. They thrive off of the subservience of the public. They thrive off of debt, and they thrive off of you bending the knee. And, it's the usual situation where it's like a whole bunch of cattle on a farm and they're eating the grass and they feel great because they got grass to eat. But I mean, what do they really have? That's not real freedom. They're in a cage. They're still a caged animal, and then they get let off to the slaughter with a smile on their face, and they're perfectly content with that situation, which is really, really sad. And that is the state of what's currently happening in the world with the banking system, with governments, all across the board. So, John, what would your bottom line be for this video?
I would say we need Italy to exit out of the euro, first of all, because they've been a problem country ever since. I remember the lira back in the day when I was young. They were always overprinting the lira. It was a terrible currency.
Wait, central banks overprinting a currency? No.
Well, it's the story of our lives. If you go and study some history, you see that happens every time. So you just need to protect yourself. Italians, there's probably very intelligent Italians out there that are, buying cryptocurrencies that are, sound and fundamental. They also hold, gold and silver because they understand, throughout history, they've probably seen a lot of banking crisis. Well, there's been a lot of banking crisis in Italy. So yeah, they just need to protect their wealth. They need to just make sure that they have learned maybe from looking at Greece, because that's where they're going currently. They're in a huge debt crisis, and stop trusting the government. It's so funny how you have this angry, the 5-star movement, other people coming out there, you're so angry, but they're using the same faulty system to try to change things.
Yeah, it's sad. Decentralize everything, folks. Be independent, rule yourselves, and of course we will continue to cover this issue as we have for a long time. But thanks for going into this with us, John, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here, WAM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so overwhelmingly demonetized and censored by YouTube as the ADL comes in and flags all of our content as hate speech. Also, check our Bitcoin address in the description as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also find us at steemit.com at Josh Sigurdson, the future of social media, where you get paid in the upvote of your post in Steem, the cryptocurrency. And also find us at the Red Pill Expo, which we have a reference link for below in the description and the comments as well. Hosted by G. Edward Griffin, amazing speakers coming out to speak this year. Don't miss it. It's in Spokane, Washington, June 21st to 23rd. We hope to see you there. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
Bye.